and welcome back. We have made it to week 5 of our 5-tip series, and this week we'll be focusing on my favorite topic, trademarking. To obtain a registered trademark, there are a few requirements that need to be met, and so these are my 5 tips to creating the perfect trademark. This is part 5 of our 5-tip series where I'll be sharing 5 tips each week that are helpful for businesses, small to medium-sized entities, artists, innovators, producers, photographers, filmmakers, and essentially anyone who has an idea and wants to create and protect it. I'll be sharing tips on how to level up and take your business or craft to the next stage, and most importantly, protect what you create. These tips are formulated from questions I am commonly asked and also from real-life client issues. If you missed the previous part, be sure to check it out on my YouTube channel at Teresa Kalu Law. So let's get right into it. For those who are not familiar with what exactly a trademark is, it is a sign or symbol that acts as a badge of origin for your goods or services. So when consumers see your sign or symbol, they immediately recognize it as belonging to you or your company. Things have become significantly more interesting with the recent passing of the new Trademarks Act here in Trinidad and Tobago, as it now allows for all sorts of trademarks. So it can now include sound, taste, touch, smell, and a host of other interesting representations. For now though, we will focus on traditional trademarks. Trademarks help to distinguish your goods and services from others in the market, and they help companies or persons to build a reputation and an image, and it can be used to stop other persons from using any name or mark that is confusingly similar to yours. So now that we know a little bit about the importance of trademarking, let's learn how to create the perfect trademark. Tip number 1. Research names and terms. The starting point of creating the perfect trademark is research. Look at the goods or services that you are planning on trading in and see what are common names and terms that are commonly used in the industry. Compile a list, and when thinking of a name for your brand, try to stay away from all of these terms. The reason for this is that these names would be considered to be generic to your goods and services, or most likely a direct reference to the character or quality of your goods and services. Though it may be tempting to use words that aptly describe your goods and services, in the branding and trademarking world, these are considered to be no-nos, as they are considered to be words that should be available for all traders, and therefore exclusive rights cannot be granted to any one trader. So, for example, if you're selling fried chicken, it may not be helpful to name your establishment Chicken and Chips. Tip number 2. Choose a distinctive name. When thinking of a name for your brand, you want to think of something unique and one that isn't already existing for your goods and services. Google and its parent company Alphabet Inc. are good examples of how this can be done. Alphabet is a popular term, but it is not a term used in relation to technology services. Another way to create a distinctive name is by creating a name that does not exist, such as Google. Google was not a name already existing, and so it was very distinctive. Invented words are typically considered to be the strongest and most distinctive names you can have as a trademark. Certain marks are considered to lack distinctiveness and fail to function as a trademark. These marks include names that are geographical names. Example, if you have Baracus Bacon Shop. Mark that speaks to the quality of your goods or services, such as superior legal services. Marks that speak to the time that the goods and services were rendered. So, for example, open 24 hours. The more distinctive your name is, the higher the chances that it will be able to be registered as a trademark, and it will be easier if you want to expand in another jurisdiction and have your trademark registered there. If you're using tip number 2, pay attention to tip number 3. Tip number 3, don't get lost in translation. When you plan to sell your goods or services in other jurisdictions, ensure that the name you are choosing translates well in other languages and cultures. Some companies have had issues with this as they chose names that, let's just say, did not translate very well. One example is the Vicks brand that we all fondly use whenever we're not feeling so well. However, when pronounced in German, it sounded closely familiar with an explicit word. Likewise, the Mitsubishi Pajero had to be rebranded as the Montero in Spain, the Americas, and India, as it had a totally other very inappropriate meaning. Even Amazon almost fell victim to this, without any translation needed. It was originally named Cadabra, but then they realized it could easily be confused with cadaver. It would quickly have gone from an everything store, which is what cadaver was meant to convey, to essentially a dead store. It is therefore important to think of this when coming up with a distinctive name. Don't just look at the literal translation, but also if it has any other meaning or slang meaning, or simply whether it is a word that would be easy to pronounce in a different language. It is always advised to choose something simple and catchy. This is usually the most effective. In fact, brands have shortened their names over time. eBay was EcoBay, Skype was Skype peer-to-peer, then Skyper. Yahoo, which is short for Yahooligan, was previously David and Jerry's Guide to the World Wide Web, and the list goes on. Tip number 4, tell your story. The beauty of a strong and powerful brand is sometimes the story behind it. Your trademark should ideally tell a story or portray a certain image that reflects your brand's character. Some of your favorite brands have stories behind them. BlackBerry wanted to stay away from the word email because they thought it was a term that had a negative connotation to some. So instead, they named their device BlackBerry because of the seed-like buttons on their device. Facebook conveyed the idea of a universal directory. Nike was originally Blue Ribbon Sports, analogous to the blue ribbon you got when you placed first in a competition. However, it was eventually changed to Nike after the Greek goddess for victory. We all know Reebok. Reebok was the South African name for antelope. Antelopes are known to be very quick runners, and so this translated well for their brand of running shoes. When you think of the perfect trademark, it should say something about your brand and tell a story about you and your brand. Tip number 5, use a striking logo. The most popular brands all have some logo that usually accompanies their name. In fact, some logos get so popular that some brands eventually just use their logo. We all instantly recognize the mermaid as being Starbucks, the swoosh as being Nike, and the bitten apple as being Apple. A striking and catchy logo can help to further add distinctiveness to your trademark and help consumers to quickly identify you and your brand. Use the same tips previously mentioned when creating the logo. Make sure it is distinctive, unique, not a direct reference to the goods and services, not representative of a geographical location, and isn't a symbol commonly used in your industry. One bonus tip: if you are hiring a graphic artist to do your logo, the creator of the logo owns the copyright in the logo. Therefore, speak with your graphic artist and arrange to have the rights assigned to you so that you would then own the rights to the image. That's my 5 tips for this week. Of course, before you file to register your trademark, make sure to do a search in the trademarks registry to ensure that there are no other marks already existing on the register that could be considered to be confusingly similar to yours, as this is another bar to registration. Happy trademarking, and until next time.